Well, a good messy Monday morning to you, Central Georgia. It's no secret if you probably looked outside already that we've seen our fair share of rain to kick off the work week, but coming at a very opportune time. We are below average in terms of rainfall for the year so far, and also the pollen. It has been everywhere, covering your car, covering your sidewalks. Hopefully this rain going to act as a free car wash to everything that you do have outdoors and getting a brief break from that pollen, maybe giving your allergies about a day break. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break down what's in store for the rest of today, where that rain currently stands as well, and then what's in store for the rest of your week as we take a look at the very far extended forecast. Maybe some things to talk about, but really just throwing all that information out there so you have it on your radar. So let's take a look at downtown Dublin right now. You can still see that the showers are quite steady right now. All those water droplets in front of our Skycam lens, wet roads, wet sidewalks. That is the story down in Lawrence County. So pretty dreary start to the day. But we're going to go around the horn with all of our Skycams. If I can find the tab that is going to go to. Bear with me just 1 second right here. Got to log into the Skycam website right here so we can access the other ones. As you can see, still some puddles starting to cluster together as well from this rainfall. If you encounter some of these puddles, be sure you're driving a little bit slower through them. Obviously, not too much rain, but it has fallen over a short amount of time given kind of the steady and heavy nature of these showers that we do have. So with wet roads being present right now and more than likely going to be present throughout most of the day because cloud cover is going to stay in the picture, maybe even some more rain tacking on to what we already have. We're not looking at much of this water to evaporate in nature. So let's take it over to Warner Robins now over at Central Georgia Technical College. And right here, oh, there we go. We had a little buffering right there with the Skycam. Still a story of wet roads. And something I want to note right now, maybe getting some peaks of green in the grass. Obviously, it's been fairly brown in color throughout the winter months, so maybe finally starting to see that grass get its color back, along with some leaves on the trees, which is also a pleasant sight to see. Now we'll take it up here to Bibb County, up in Macon, and a pretty gloomy image once again off in the horizon that you can see, or can't really see much, is rather what I should say, and still a little bit fuzzy as you're taking a look up Gray Highway right here. So giving you an idea of maybe still some light sprinkle showers that are falling or any of that moisture at the surface that is rising up just a little bit up into the atmosphere, kind of creating some foggy conditions as well. And now down to our last Skycam, making it all the way around the horn in baseball terms. You'll see that it is rather dry at the Georgia National Fairgrounds, but still wet pathways right now at the West Gate. You can see a breeze. It's a little bit southerly right now, so you see the flags blowing from left to right. If we're obviously facing west, the flag blowing from left to right means that the winds have a southerly component to them. So let's go into your current temperatures right now. So this is all courtesy of a frontal boundary and what we've seen in recent weeks. These frontal boundaries usher in some cooler and drier air behind them. Well, number one, the temperatures have remained somewhere in the 50s all morning long. While it may be a little bit chilly now when you pair it up with that rain, it still has been a pleasant start to the morning, not dealing with temperatures in the 40s pairing it up with rain, or even the 30s, which we haven't done too long ago. So finally getting into the warmer months of the year as we kicked off the spring season last Thursday all across the country. It looks like 60 degrees over in Butler, the lone 60-degree mark that we do see. Many areas are just about a degree, 2 or 3 shy of that right now. So not too bad, plenty of green on the temperature map. Areas further to the west maybe have a few more 60s, like Panama City down to the southwest, 64, 62 in Montgomery. But when I show you where this frontal boundary is currently located, you'll see that not necessarily bringing some of this colder air up to the north, some of those light blues, some of those dark blues. We don't really look to get a big cool down, or in fact, a cool down really whatsoever from this frontal boundary that will pass. But let's take a look at yesterday's almanac. We did crawl into the upper 70s, so about 6 degrees above average for this time of year. Lows dipped down into the upper 30s just barely, so that's below average for that average low temperature that we see in the mornings. Nowhere near our records, 26 and 91 for a high temperature. Thankfully, we have not welcomed back the 90s yet. 80s will be just fine for the next couple of weeks. But I want to note this is your departure of rain. Like I was mentioning at the beginning of the stream, about 3.5 inches below average what we typically have in terms of rainfall in a typical year. that's where we are right now. We haven't really received too much rain in the year of 2025. And when we have received that rain, it's really come in like a severe weather event or such. It's dumped a bunch of rain on us in a very short amount of time. And after that, we really get these quiet weather periods with the high pressure dominating for a couple days at a time. Haven't really had repeated system after repeated system so far during the spring and the severe weather season. So right now you can see the satellite and radar picture, mostly cloudy farther up to the north and the northwest. It looks like the showers are really just located down in our southeastern corner now. So let's take a look at what areas are still seeing some rain. Looks like Wheeler County, Montgomery County, maybe a little bit of Treutlen County, eastern Lawrence, then down into Telfair, the eastern edge of Dodge County, a little bit over into Wilcox County, and then the eastern half of Johnson County, really just to the east of Wrightsville, moving over into Swainsboro. Those orange and yellow colors are going to be where your steadier and your heavier rainfall is. But I will note, if we take this, we zoom it out a little bit, and then I pause it right here. Let's drag it all the way back to around here, which is at 7:35 this morning. I'm wondering if any of the lightning strikes are going to pop up, and it doesn't quite look like it. I will note that before this line of rain did move in, we were seeing couplings together of lightning strikes, some pockets of really heavy downpours, maybe even some pea-sized hail. That was before this system really moved into central Georgia. And then as it moved into a very poor instability environment, this system started to get lighter in nature in terms of the rainfall. The lightning got a lot more sporadic to virtually no lightning whatsoever. So this system started out as a good sector of heavy downpours, even some low-end thunderstorms. However, no special weather statements or severe thunderstorm warnings were issued with this. This is really just looking to be a widespread rainmaker, which, like I said, lasting a little bit longer than that very thin line of rain that we had as of last week, maybe a little bit longer in order to wash off some of that pollen. So let's take it back to our current satellite and radar image. We'll go ahead and just keep playing this through. And you can see that most of the rain is continuing to exit down the I-16 corridor. But what's left behind it? There's still plenty of moisture back over here on the backside, maybe a few sprinkles starting to sprout up depending on where you live. I think that's going to be more of the main story as we go into the afternoon and evening hours later on today. So not quite out of the woods in terms of rainfall yet. And I'll show you how the models are disagreeing a little bit about what coverage of rain we could see as we head into the second half of your Monday. But now let's go over to our 24-hour rainfall graphic, just trying to get a glimpse of how much rain this has dumped on us. And really nothing too impressive in nature whatsoever. Maybe about 1 to 2 to 3/10 of an inch in most spots, and a couple areas maybe not even getting to that 1/10 of an inch mark, maybe just getting under a 1/10 of an inch of rain, not really doing much but a brief shower, hopefully at least washing the pollen off your windshield. But some areas have gotten a little luckier. About 1/2 inch of rain in Macon, a little over 1/2 inch of rain over into Thomaston in Upson County. So it kind of depends on where you live. Some areas have seen heavier shower train over the same area in the same area. And that's why we've gotten a little bit higher of a tally on this rainfall map. But still, that range obviously not going to put too much of a dent in that below average mark that I did just show you, maybe getting us back to about 3 inches below average for this time of year. And unfortunately, we don't really look to have much in the way of rain for the rest of the work week and most of the weekend ahead as it does stand right now. But things to talk about as we end the weekend and go into next weekend as we head to the end of this. So let's take a look at your surface map now. What is this all courtesy of? Well, I did allude to it just a bit ago. This is all courtesy of a frontal boundary that is draped across the entire southeast, all the way back towards Texas and northern Mexico. You can see high pressure is going to very quickly filter in behind this. Not often that we see these high and low pressure centers so close together. However, what this will do as the system does pass, we could deal with our fair share of some gusty winds over the next couple of days. And once we do dry out, that can have implications for things like fire danger statements and such, which make prescribed burning not really a good idea. Excuse me, you can tell how much the pollen is affecting me with my allergies. Got a little bit of a frog in my throat. But this system will continue to push through the southeast. However, not going to be a really swift motion like we typically see with these frontal boundaries coming directly out of the west. This is going to be a little bit slower to push through central Georgia, so that's why we're looking at some rain chances that could linger into the afternoon and evening hours in central Georgia. So let's see what FutureView has to say about this. That main line, that main cluster of rain, not only doesn't move out, it is actually starting to dissipate and fall apart in nature. But like I said, this front is going to kind of stall where it is present right now, just to the north of us. So we will still have some moisture influx that could sprout some light showers, maybe some more so sprinkles throughout the second half of today. I realize I kind of zoomed through that. But you'll see that FutureView, at least this graph model that we typically show you day to day in all of our forecasts, hinting at maybe some clustering of some heavier showers, some lower end thunderstorms, mainly to the south of us as it does stand. Really just looking at scattered activity through the remainder of your Monday right now. But then this kind of line that starts to form on the backside of all this rain that we have received, I think this is going to be the main indication of the leading edge of the front finally kicking into gear and finally pushing through central Georgia, because you'll see what happens as we head into the nighttime hours into early tomorrow morning. Yes, we finally do clear out, and you'll start to see not even that gusty of winds, because this front is really so slow moving. When you have those fronts that move through very quickly, obviously that's where you get your backside winds that can get rather gusty in nature. But we are still expecting an uptick in the winds as we go throughout the next couple of days. Now let's take it over to another high resolution model, the HRRR. That's what we typically use when we're seeing a lot of disagreement, or maybe the graph model not necessarily panning out how it has been. And I will say the graph model hasn't necessarily been the best with resolving this line of rain that has moved through thus far. So let's play it through. This is starting at 11 a.m. right here, just in about 20 minutes or so. Then we go to 2 p.m. and all that lingering moisture that I was showing you, maybe some scattered green dots on the FutureView map. This is hinting that we'll see some clustering together of these sprinkles, but they're still very light in nature. However, maybe some darker colors trying to pop up, maybe some darker green, maybe some yellow, maybe some orange. We could still have some pockets of heavier downpours. However, I more so think it is going to be lighter rain in nature throughout the rest of your Monday. However, this is really good coverage right here if we go according to what the HRRR model does say right here. So I think we'll kind of have the in-between ground. I don't think everyone in central Georgia is going to see that light rain later on this afternoon. However, I do believe more areas than not will still be dealing with some pesky sprinkles, and with the heat of the day, which obviously I know it's cloudy, and you may be saying, well, it's not going to get that warm today if it's cloudy and if it's rainy. We're still forecasted to climb upwards to the 70-degree mark. That would still be sufficient enough to sprout maybe some steadier showers. I don't know about a couple of rumbles of thunder, but definitely couldn't rule that out. I don't think anything in the way of severe weather is going to be happening as we go throughout the rest of today. Maybe just some rain lingering a little bit longer than we would like, but still, think of it as a free car wash. Think of it as getting all of that pollen off everything that is outside. We're going to be very thankful for this. I, for one, don't remember the last time I've been this excited about a rain chance coming into work, just because the pollen has been so bad lately. So that's where we stand for the rest of today. I still think it's going to be mainly lighter showers, but some pockets of some steadier rain, maybe a low-end thunderstorm, a rumble of thunder or two, maybe a little bit of some gusty winds embedded within those pockets of rain. Still nothing of the severe criteria necessarily. But let's talk to high temperatures. I told you we'll approach 70 degrees for a high temperature throughout today, even despite the cloud cover, even despite all the rain. Well, this front not going to usher in that cooler air that I was referring to. We're bouncing straight up 10 degrees to the 80-degree mark for a high on Tuesday, and then still hanging around in the 70s, even though we'll see a little bit of a decline Wednesday and Thursday, highs in the upper 70s, then down to the mid 70s, before we pop back up to the 80-degree mark on Friday. And that's going to kind of set the stage for the beginning of your weekend. Still looking at mostly clear weather throughout the rest of your work week. And then once we go into the beginning of the weekend, still relatively clear until we get into maybe Saturday night into Sunday. And we'll go over that in just one second. The morning lows going to hover around average for the next couple of days. Obviously today was a little bit warmer because of that cloud cover. Then going to dip down into the 40s, 42, 48, 43. So really bouncing up and down between the low 40s and the upper 40s. And then 45 for a low as we kick off Friday. A little bit more of a chill in the air, so maybe something that you need a light jacket for, as opposed to this morning, which felt very, very comfortable, I must say, at least for morning low standards. So let's go through long range. You see I continue to play it through as we go actually throughout the entire graphic. So let me just take it day by day right here. Forgot to throw a pause point on there. So let's go through your Thursday right here. This is going into Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Any plans that you may have for Thursday night, looking all good to go, maybe some partly cloudy skies. As we go into Friday, maybe a little bit more cloud cover in the picture, but still overall a dry day right now is what we're seeing on the long range models. And then Saturday, that's what I was talking about. Saturday could have a few question marks because you see maybe some blobs over here, a blob of blue, a blob of green right here. Not really agreeing much the GFS and the Euro models just yet. And this goes all the way into Saturday evening where we could very well see some moisture creep back into the forecast, but it doesn't look like good agreement that we are going to see any rain per se, maybe until the overnight hours getting into Sunday, and that's still a very, very slim chance right there. It's more so Sunday that you'll see, number one, the European model in blue taking over a wide area of seeing precipitation, stretching all the way west over to Louisiana, Arkansas, and including here in central Georgia. The GFS in green, not necessarily picking up on that. They think that most of the rain is going to be farther to the north of this big cluster of blue. Nonetheless, it does look like some form of system does try to organize according to the GFS model. And that's what we've seen according to guidance, maybe some areas and some organizations already looking ahead to maybe Sunday into Monday next week. But the chances are still pretty slim, and there's not a good agreement about where maybe this system will organize, where this system may impact. But it does look like one thing for certain, that we are probably going to end the weekend on a bit of a wet note and start next week with more of the same forecast that we did have for today. But let's go ahead and mention this. Like I said, nothing to be concerned about right now because number one, you're going to notice this is a very, very, very wide area. This is encompassing a couple of states in its entirety. The day 7 outlook, obviously things can change very drastically from each model run that we continue to see. And by the SPC continuing to issue this right now for 7 days out in advance, it tells me one thing, that some system is going to organize probably across the eastern half of the United States as we go into the end of the week. But the other thing this tells me is they have no idea where this is going to really impact. I mean, look how big this is, one of the biggest areas that they probably have ever issued in terms of shaded areas this far in advance. But if we play this graphic forward, you'll continue to see, I zoom it into central Georgia, and this is from 8 a.m. Sunday into 8 a.m. Monday, a 15% or a slight risk of seeing severe weather to the northwest of us. So it does encompass the metro Atlanta area. It does clip Upson County, gets really close to Lamar County right there. But right now, central Georgia is still not under any severe weather outlook. The day 8 outlook says predictability is too low, so that gives you an idea of how vague these outlooks are about 4 to 8 days out. We'll continue to keep a close eye on it, but like I said, just something to maybe have on your radar. So once we head in towards the end of the weekend, the best advice I would have right now is move any outdoor plans to Friday and Saturday, specifically cherry blossom festivities, because obviously Sunday Cherry Blossom Festival will be wrapping up. Maybe not the best day to get those last minute celebrations in from the Cherry Blossom Festival as it does stand right now. But we'll continue to monitor this and give you updates as we get more agreement, really. That's what I'm looking for amongst the long-range models right now. I can't even tell you where the system's going to organize or impact right now, and I don't think the SPC is really nailing down a forecast for that either. They're just obviously seeing something organizing, and due to the time of year it is, obviously it would have the features to maybe sprout some thunderstorms or some possible severe weather in some areas. But once again, central Georgia not even in an outlook as it does stand. I thought it was relevant noting to just put on your radar this far out, and obviously just to kind of monitor how this changes at least over the next couple of days. And right now it's only clipping our west and our northwestern counties, so nothing to really be concerned about. It does look like Sunday's shaping up quite dreary, but obviously we'll continue to update you day by day as we go throughout the work week. For now, we just have to get through the rainy day for the rest of today. So obviously, I do think we're going to see good coverage of some light showers throughout the remainder of today. You could see a pocket of maybe a steadier rain, a heavier downpour. Don't be surprised if you hear a rumble of thunder or two. Still nothing, I think, of the severe criteria, and we could play along with what the graph model is saying. The graph wasn't necessarily right this morning, but it could get its act together for the forecast for the second half of today, and that means most everyone would remain dry. However, with the roads still being wet, allow for a little more time on your evening commute home from work, maybe running some errands this evening, anything that you would be out on the roads for. And then after that, sunny skies are going to dominate your forecast Tuesday, Wednesday, on into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we do have a good, nice stretch of some sunshine in store. Obviously, we do need the rain, but it is very nice to get these nice stretches of spring days. You get the warmer air without having the possibility of precipitation as we are so used to here in central Georgia. So that's been about 20 minutes. I think that's enough yapping for today. You really just wanted to cover your forecast in depth and throw a couple things on your radar, specifically this just about a week out. This is anything but certain right now. So like I said, we'll continue to monitor it. Nothing to be concerned about right now. And we're not even in an outlook as it does stand. So I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Try to find something to give you a little bit of sunshine in this gloomy weather that we do have. And if you're like me, just be thankful that it is finally washing away some of that pollen that has been everywhere and very, very prominent as we've started the spring season. So thanks for tuning in and have a great rest of your day, Central Georgia.